Are you ready to make the most of your oil and gas mineral rights? Welcome to the Mineral Rights Podcast. Get the knowledge and resources you need to manage your minerals and royalties. Here is your host, Matt Sands.
Hello and welcome to the Mineral Rights Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Sands, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justin Williams, and we're here to help you make the most of your minerals and royalties. And today we're going to talk about the 2025 National Association of Royalty Owners annual convention in Oklahoma City, and give you a little bit of a sneak preview, behind the scenes look at the agenda, at some of the topics and educational opportunities. And just wanted to give you that chance to take a look at that. So if you're considering, needing to get educated, needing to further your knowledge around minerals and royalties, whether you've recently inherited minerals and are just trying to figure it all out, or if you've been at this for many years and are wanting to go deeper into particular topics or into particular areas to address a particular issue you're dealing with right now. Perhaps it's related to surface use, maybe solar farms or wind farms, and how that can interact with oil and gas operations, or pore space. We've been hearing a lot about CO2 sequestration and what does that mean for your minerals. We go into a lot of these different topics, and we'll give you a highlight of some of the speakers and things that are going to be covered. But Justin, I'm excited for this year's convention.
Yeah, it'll be great. It's a wonderful opportunity. The local conventions are really great, but this is really a chance to bring everyone together from around the United States to talk about different things happening in the industry as a whole. There's a lot of great networking opportunities and a lot of information that's both the cutting edge and maybe things that, have been talked about many times, but we encounter many times as mineral owners.
Yeah. And, maybe it's something that's very commonly covered, but if you're new to this space, then, it's new to you, right? So that's, something, there's something for everybody at this convention, which I think is, the best part. Like Justin mentioned, you have the opportunity to meet other like-minded mineral and royalty owners who are going through the exact same things that you're going through. And I know a lot of people, when they go to the national convention, it can be a game changer for them, and setting them off on the right course and meeting some people that they can, talk with throughout the year when they're back at home and say, hey, I'm dealing with this situation. Have you dealt with this before? It just gives you another resource to help you on your journey of managing your minerals and royalties. And so, Justin, I think, for me, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about NARO's mission is to educate and advocate for mineral and royalty owners. And education is a huge part of this convention.
You said it, Matt. And, in the mineral world, if you're a trustee of a trust for your family, if you're managing the minerals for your family, there's a handful of places where you can go to get some kind of education, some kind of certification without really just going back through college courses. And NARO is one of those, and the National Convention is really a fantastic place to go through that, Matt. They have the mineral management course that they offer, and there's you're able to get certified at the National Convention. And that's a huge part of NARO's mission, and allows you to really walk away at least feeling secure that you have a foundation in how to manage minerals, and at least the basics of managing minerals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, this is just one of the reasons to mark your calendar from October 1st through the 3rd at the Omni Hotel in Oklahoma City, because like Justin mentioned, if you're just getting started, you want to understand the basics, right? Understand what are the things that I need to know in order to manage my minerals and royalties, and to understand exactly what I own. So on Wednesday morning, before the convention actually kicks off at 1 p.m., there's the introduction to mineral ownership, which is from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So if you want to take that, if you're new to mineral management, new to managing your family's interests, this is the course to take. It's an extra fee of $75, but it is worth that. You'll get that back instantly in the first time that you engage in a lease negotiation, or you try to figure out and read your check statement, or try to understand how to research the activity in your area and figure out what's going on. So this introduction to mineral ownership course is offered both at our state conventions, at several of the state conventions, not all of them. And then at the national convention, it's really a highlight, and it's really well attended. Usually there's, a room full of both new and experienced mineral and royalty owners that are taking this for the first time or taking it again as a refresher. You'll have, last year I taught this course alongside Jimmy Wright, who's a friend of the show and the NARO Foundation president. So I am the current NARO Association president this year. And so he and I have given that course. And so that's something where you can learn from examples from other folks that are in the room. They can talk about that. And then we give, again, our experience in walking through those fundamental concepts. So that's a great start to the convention. And then, throughout the week, there are different presentations that we'll highlight here in a second. But for me, that's a great place to get started if you're just new to owning minerals and royalties.
Yeah, you said it, Matt. It's a foundation that the $75 it'll pay for itself very quickly in what you learn, and it's guaranteed to be entertaining with Jimmy. So that $75 for entertainment with having Jimmy there is in and of itself probably worth it. And Matt, like you said, there's a lot of different people speaking. For the folks that may be in the industry for a long time, we try to have some topics that are kind of on the leading edge, and we've got some really interesting speakers and interesting topics. We have Professor Joe Schrimmer, who's going to be speaking about pore space law, which we've had Joe Schrimmer speak before at some of our conventions, and he's a really wonderful presenter and brings some really valuable information.
Yeah, it takes the really technical legal aspects and boils it down that, anybody can understand. And I think really this is an important topic to understand because of the whole CO2, the carbon capture and sequestration push. And I know it's slowed down a little bit under the current administration, but I would expect that would continue to be a topic that all mineral and royalty owners should understand and understand the implications of CO2 sequestration project and how it might adversely affect your mineral interest, or at least the ability to access those minerals to produce oil and gas in the future. So it's an important thing to understand, whatever your viewpoint is on that topic. It's just important to know what you should be doing to protect your interests. In addition to those, experts presentations, we do have, if you wanted to go deeper in my realm, I have the Mineral Management Basics online course, which is a way that you can go through and kind of take a deeper dive into learning about minerals and royalties. The National Association of Royalty Owners is the only national organization that has a certification program, that mineral management certification that Justin mentioned, and just wanted to highlight that if you wanted to take your knowledge level deeper and become a registered mineral manager or a certified mineral manager, that is the opportunity to do that here in Oklahoma City. You can take the Mineral Management Review course on Tuesday morning, the 30th, before the convention actually kicks off. And then you can actually sit for the RMM or the CMM exam. So yeah, that would be the opportunity to sit for that exam if you wanted to get certified. And the only time you can sit and take the certified mineral manager exam is actually at our national convention. So definitely an opportunity you don't want to miss if you're thinking about doing that. But Justin, back to talking about some of these other speakers. I think for me, one of the things that's amazing is we're going to have an expert panel on Friday that's going to consist of several of the other NARO board members that are attorneys. So we'll have this expert legal panel that you can get your personalized answers to your complex questions, and this is a really unique opportunity. Normally you have to, sit down with your attorney in a one-on-one, and they're actually going to answer some of the questions that are going to be submitted in advance by the audience so that they can, talk about very, unique, specific situations and give you their take on it. And of course, they're not going to be your attorney. That shouldn't be legal advice, but you can take that information and go speak to your attorney and, get you set off on the right track. So in addition to that expert panel, throughout the week, there are opportunities to ask the speakers during the breaks, board members during the breaks, if you have a particular question about, where to go find information or what they can help direct you in the right way. So that is, I think a huge opportunity in addition to sitting through these amazing presentations, just that whole networking aspect.
You said it, Matt. And, to talk about some of the other presentations, just to give a idea of the different areas that we're covering, we have another presentation by Alan Morgan that's doing Finding Lost Individuals in Minerals, which, Matt, it's the part of the mineral world that isn't really talked about a whole lot. I know I am somebody who has experienced that, where there was minerals sitting out there that I didn't know that we owned. And that is a process in and of itself when you're not receiving or being contacted about this property.
No, that's a great point. Yeah. Understanding, when you inherit minerals, I think you're in a unique position where you don't know exactly what you own. You're trying to figure it out on the fly. It's kind of like building the plane while you're flying it, and you're having to deal with things like lease negotiations at the same time and understanding, okay, are there other properties out there that I don't know about that we might have an interest in, or are there unclaimed royalties out there that I need to go track down and claim, or, just try to figure out exactly what's going on. And I think, ultimately learning from others is the way that you can get off on the right track, save yourself time. I think at the end of the day, time is precious. You can go and search for the internet and learn a lot of this stuff on your own by reading, legal papers and articles and, listening to this show, through the almost 300 episodes that we've recorded, and, get pretty close to getting, where you would get through just a week of sitting through this national convention. So I think if time is important to you and of the essence, which I know for me, it's, there's not enough time in the day usually, getting to the answer at the back of the book is ever more important. And I think this convention really offers the opportunity to do that and learn from the experts.
Yeah, you said it, man. It'll be a good time. There's going to be food. There'll be people to get to know. And for the first-time mineral owners, you're going to make connections that will be valuable to you throughout your journey. For the folks that, may be looking for the cutting-edge topics, there'll be plenty for you, plenty of folks to meet and to network with. And Matt, this is it's the biggest event that the association does each year. And so all of the expertise comes together here. Texas is our other major chapter, and they are huge in helping us to put this together. A lot of the content is different, I'm assuming, Matt. And so there's still something. So even for folks that attended the Texas, there's still something here for you.
Yeah, we have really almost a completely different lineup than a lot of the state conventions. So there's a couple of speakers that have spoken, like Justin mentioned, at our state conventions, either in the past or in the past year. But their topics at this convention are going to be different. One of the things that I always get asked by prospective clients is, how do I figure out how much my minerals are worth? And, that they have to come to me or other experts that do appraisals and, get that answer. So Jordan Renner, who's on the Rocky Mountain chapter board, and his business partner, James Sassid with Legacy Mineral Management, are going to give a presentation on how to value your minerals on Thursday morning. So that is going to be a really interesting one for sure. That's one that I, very interested in watching and listening to as well. And then if you are in the process of leasing or been approached recently to negotiate an oil and gas lease, there are two presentations that are particularly going to be helpful, I think. And one is called Royalty Clause Roundup. It's about modern use and interpretation of royalty clauses. So this is, that legalese that you always read your oil and gas lease. Well, what do those different paragraphs mean? Chuck Nutter, who's an attorney, is going to walk us through that. And that's going to be a tremendously valuable presentation. And then Jared Bays, who's former national board member and on the Oklahoma board as well, is going to talk about some practical lease negotiation strategies. So, this is something that you should have in your toolbox, because one of the most important events in the life cycle of mineral and royalty interest is the oil and gas lease. And that really could set you up for, how much you're going to make and the value of that property, and really maximizing that value at that opportunity you have to lease. If you don't do it correctly, you're leaving money on the table, or worst case, you're negatively affecting the value of your property. So I think these two particular presentations are going to be useful for any mineral owner, regardless if you're an expert and have been at it for years. I know that I always need to get tips on the legal side of things because I'm not an attorney, and, getting a refresher on the different clauses is always going to be helpful. And I'm definitely looking forward to those two as well.
You said it, Matt, and they change. New clauses come in with lithium. There's going to be new laws. There's been things changing in Texas. So there's always going to be new information in those presentations, even if a lot of it is fundamental stuff being recovered. Yeah,
exactly. And, speaking of lithium, that is something I know that is quite a bit been in the news, and we've talked about it a lot on this show. We are going to have some topics related to, what's going on in that space, and, really around water, produced water, what is that, all these decisions that have been going down lately in Texas and other places around the ownership of produced water. How does that affect lithium? So in my mind, that's an important one. And I think that, it definitely ties into that pore space topic as well. And then, just a couple of things to highlight around, Texas in particular. There is going to be a presentation on the mineral interest, the MIPA, which is the Texas Pooling Act. And it's going to talk about pooling in Texas versus forced pooling in other states. So if you wondered, the concept of allocation wells and pooling in Texas and the difference between those two things. So Ben Holliday, who's an attorney with the Holliday Energy Group, is going to give a presentation on that, which I think will be really helpful. And then, if you're really just kind of new to the petroleum industry, we have Christy Ferguson, who's been a presenter in the past and has given really excellent talks. And she's a geologist, and she's going to talk about a brief history of the petroleum industry. And then, how we've gotten to the point that we are today with all these horizontal wells and drilling. And so it's really, I think, going to be useful just to set context. If you're new to the industry and, all the things that go on, that's going to be a really helpful one as well.
You said it, Matt. Yeah, it's going to be it'll be a really lots of content to take in, more than anybody could take in everything, which is, you want to talk a little bit about the way that the paths are done. That's something that I thought was a very smart way. And then also maybe a quick mention on the app that's used, and that folks can access the info.
Oh, great point. Yeah. So there are 2 tracks on Thursday. So we have a track A, which is sort of loosely, the advanced track, although that is more of the general topics too. And then track B is some of the more fundamental topics like the royalty clause interpretation, lease negotiation strategies, that Texas pooling discussion, and then orphan wells talk. And so you can pick and choose on Thursday, which topics interest you the most and what you're dealing with right now. So in my mind, that's a really great opportunity that you can kind of tailor what you get out of the convention based on which sessions you attend. And then Friday is, going to be the wrap up at noon. So we kick off, just for planning purposes, if you're wanting to attend the general sessions, they kick off at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, October 1st. So we'll have a kickoff presentation, and we'll dive right in. And that will wrap up with the reception at 5 o'clock. Kickoff on Thursday with the first presentation at around 8:30. We'll have breakfast included as well. And then we wrap up again in the afternoon after lunch. So, the thing that's amazing about this convention is you can Uber to the hotel. You don't have to worry about driving around to different places. We're actually really close to a really nice area in Oklahoma City. You can walk to nice restaurants and go and do some things outside of the convention. But then, during the day, we have lunch provided on Thursday, breakfast as well, and then a reception each night. So we'll have some hors d'oeuvres and drinks. And so, yeah, really amazing food. We had our national board meeting, our annual planning meeting at the hotel in January. And so we got a sneak preview of what that space is going to be like. It's a really nice space. It's, everything is right there at the hotel, so you can book your room. It's important, if you are thinking of going, that you definitely don't miss out on the discounted room rates, which are available right now. So between now and the beginning of September, really just a couple of weeks left to book that discounted room rate. So, definitely don't want to miss out on that. It's $219 per night. And again, that's September 16th deadline for the registration rate for the convention itself. And then September 2nd is the deadline for those discounted group room rates. And you could probably book a room after that, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than $219 per night. So now is the time to lock in at the lowest price that you'll get for the room. And then, again, do that sooner than later, because those rooms are going to sell out. I think, we're definitely on track to have a great convention with the amount of people that are going to be there, just looking at the registration so far.
Absolutely, Matt. And with the app, so not only do you get to attend these, but the information, the slides, the content's all loaded into an app that you would get access to. You can sit down in the morning and take a look at what you might want to consume. And then if you learn something valuable, you'll have access to that information after the convention so that you can go back and reference that. And Matt, if we've learned anything about minerals and royalties, information is pertinent when it's pertinent. So it'll be a good resource to be able to go back and look at some of this.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and that app is going to have the contact information. So if you meet a professional there that's an exhibitor, so that's the other side of things, is we have a big exhibition space outside of the ballrooms where we have myself included will be there as an exhibitor, and other professionals that you want to learn about mineral management, about mineral management software, about consulting, appraisals, valuations, which is my consulting practice, and education, which is what I also offer, and things like that. So there's all these amazing companies that are supporters of NARO that will be there that you can meet in one place, get demos of software, see what the products and services that they offer. And then when you get home, if you're, like Justin said, if you're dealing with a particular issue about negotiating a lease, well, one of the attorneys that you met there might be, the perfect person to help you with that. And you'll have their, contact information. You'll have all of that ready to go. So you won't have to be trying to scramble and search for that. When you get that lease offer, you'll already be set up. So yeah, that app is amazing. And like Justin said, after the convention is over, we'll have access to the presentations for several months afterwards. So it's a, opportunity for you to download the presentations and save them and be able to reference them in the future. So that's a great resource as well.
You said it, man. It'll be a good time. We're looking forward to it. A lot of hard work goes into this throughout the year.
Yeah, a lot of hard work. We have an amazing board at NARO and volunteers basically that are putting together the schedule, that have helped line up the speakers. And, like I said, I'm really excited for this year's convention. So definitely, if you want to take your education to the next level in a short period of time, this is the chance to do it. Again, in addition to the stuff that you can do on your own, whether that's listening to this podcast or taking my online course or, getting some one-on-one help from an expert, getting a crash course on minerals, this is the place to do it. If you're available, you don't already have a commitment the week of September 30th, we hope to see you in Oklahoma City. It's an amazing opportunity to, again, further your knowledge. It's very reasonably priced to attend the convention. We'll put a link in the show notes where you can register, and, the page on the NARO website that has all the information about the hotel, the registration link, the link to book your hotel room at the discounted rate. So definitely don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this is sort of once a year that we get this chance to get together as a group of like-minded mineral and royalty owners. There'll be several hundred people there in attendance that you'll get to meet, people with interests in the same state, perhaps in the same county or even the same township that you have your minerals, and you can make some lasting relationships that will, last throughout the year, even beyond, when you get home. So definitely go to the show notes at mineralrightspodcast.com. Look for this episode to find the link to the registration page. And we look forward to seeing you in Oklahoma City the first week in October. So Justin, any parting thoughts here before we wrap up?
No, other than it's something that every mineral owner should attend at least once. Again, it's really the networking, getting to meet these folks. It'll pay dividends. It couldn't even compare to the price of the conference or the stay. Really, the organization, our strong suit is the networking, bringing mineral owners together. And this is the biggest chance for that. This is the where we put the most effort in the organization. So.
Yeah, it's the big event each year. So I look forward to seeing you in Oklahoma City. And, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions about the convention. Just send an email to feedback@mineralrightspodcast.com, or you can send a note to the NARO staff. We'll put their email address in the show notes as well. If you have a question specific to the event or anything like that, you can email them. So thanks again for listening, and we hope to see you in Oklahoma City.
See you there.
Thanks so much for listening to the Mineral Rights Podcast with your host, Matt Sands. Don't forget to subscribe and share at mineralrightspodcast.com. The Mineral Rights Podcast should not be construed as investment, legal, or tax advice. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy.